today's session is really an introductory session about Big Green DAO in this grants round 4, and helping you all to understand a little bit more about what is DAO, the technology, how we're working, supporting the application process, and giving everybody a good perspective of what's to come. And we're going to be talking a lot about, at the end, about answering any questions you all might have. So like I said, the agenda today is an intro to Big Green DAO. We're going to get into the community and the committee and who makes up the DAO. A little bit of an introduction to Web3 and decentralized applications, or DApps or DApps. We're going to talk about what it means to participate in the DAO and a little bit of the philosophy of the DAO, applying to the DAO, what that looks like, and how to best promote your work. We're going to hear from DAO token, Big Green DAO token holders, community members, and committee members. A little bit about Discord and how we use it, and then Q&A. So a little bit about Big Green, because we are the kind of initiators of the Big Green DAO. We are a national 501c3 nonprofit. We're founded in 2011, where in the first 10 years of our work really focused entirely on the school garden world. And recently, in this past year, we've expanded our work to support gardeners at home and community-based work. And so the Big Green DAO provides this great opportunity for us to invest capital in utilizing new technology in a way that really has never been done before, at least in this particular way, really putting a lot of power into the hands of the people doing the work on the ground. So Big Green as a whole, our goal, our mission is the central principle of our work is the idea that growing food changes lives. And so many things are connected to our lives and the lives of the world around us through growing food. And so without further ado, I'm going to pass it along to Rob Gray. Rob, please introduce yourself and take it away. Thanks, Rob.
Hi, my name is Robert Gray, and I'm an educator with the Big Green DAO, and I'm excited to be working with everyone. We're going to go over a few things today. We're really going to go over the basics of a lot of things Web3, and if you ever have any questions during this process, feel free to reach out to me if you need anything. If you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the Big Green DAO, and we're going to give you more details about it. Through the Big Green DAO, we believe we can decentralize decision-making to make providing critical resources to the front lines faster. With more democratic decision-making, Big Green has expanded our impact to support schools, families, and communities across the country to grow their own food. Using DAO technology, we are supporting this community by putting grant-making decisions and the governance into the hands of the people and the organizations. You're going to see a little bit more details about round 1, round 2, and round 3, and how many members we have in each one. Next slide, please. And you're going to see the first principles, which is our light paper. You'll find that more on the Big Green DAO website, and also the Big Green Charter. Those two are the foundation of the Big Green DAO. We then break that down to the DAO committee, and that DAO committee has executive authority to do certain things, like acknowledge the final vote, add or remove committee members, or modify governance rules. The DAO community, which is right below that, has grant-making authority. It can select grantees, allocate grant funds, and governance decisions. So this is the section that you will be falling into as new applicants of the Big Green DAO. You'll be entering the DAO community. As you see, there is organizations and there are also donors, because you can receive a garden token if you're a donor for Big Green. Next slide, please. In 3 words or less, I would love everyone to describe what are your feelings or what are your thoughts on Web3, and you can put those in the chat. We'll give you a couple minutes just to leave a few comments in the chat, please. I'm gonna open up the chat to see some some things that we're getting. Something new, frustrated, intrigued. There you go. Curious, excited to learn. Teens are here already. That's very true. It's the future. So we got a lot of cool things. We're going to be able to cover all that. I'm excited that you all are excited. It's a great opportunity for the future. Think of technology, how it's advanced in the time that we've seen it. A lot of you might remember when the internet first came out, and now we're all streaming on smart devices and little mini computers in front of us. So this is some great things to hear from everyone, and I'm glad that you all are excited. And next slide, please. Thank you. What is Web3? A lot of people have even asked that in the chat when we just had that prompt. Web3 is a little complicated. It's a catch-all term, but overall, it's a new, better internet. At its core, it uses Web3, is blockchain, cryptocurrency, and NFTs, giving back the power to the user and the people who created it. Centralization has helped onboard billions of people into World Wide Web and created the stable, robust infrastructure on which it lives on. At the same time, a handful of centralized entities have a stronghold of the large pools of the World Wide Web. You think of Meta, formerly known as Facebook. They changed their name to Meta because this surge of new things happening in the Web3 economy. They're facing everything towards the metaverse now. Meta, formerly known as Facebook, owns Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Oculus. This results in a centralized system, and the platform decide what should and what should not be allowed. This is really what Web 1 is, and Web 2. Web 3 is an answer to this dilemma. Instead of a web monopolized by large technology companies, Web 3 embraces the decentralization and is being built and operated and owned by its users. Web 3 puts power into the hands of the individual rather than a corporation. Web 1 was read only. Web 2 is read and write, and Web 3 is read, write, and own. It's some examples of some Web 1 sites that I'm going to provide in the chat for you. And you all can click on it. This is an old campaign from Doyle Kemp in '96. I just added that in the chat. That's an example of a Web 1 website that you can all look at, and then you maybe have a better understanding of exactly what Web 1 is. Web 2 is social media. You think of stuff like Airbnb, where you can go on their website and you don't only see what's available, you can then upload your home and say, hey, I have this Airbnb available. It's a read and write. And with Web 3, it's like websites like MetaMask, Rarible, the Ethereum naming service, where you can not only read what's available on the website, you can also add your own information, but then you can own that information that you add to it. So it's just 3 levels of the internet that we are currently working our way towards. And although it's challenging to provide a rigid definition of what Web3 is, a few core principles guide its creation and culture. Ownership of your assets, which is known as NFTs. Censorship resistance. You're able to do whatever you like to on the blockchain and Web3. Even if some people don't agree with it, you still have that access to post it, and then the consequences are dealt within you. Decentralized autonomous organization, DAOs, which we all gather for. It's very important. It's a way that you can decentralize the authority within an organization. Your digital identity. A lot of us think of it as our Facebook page or our Instagram name. Your digital identity can vast all across the internet, but if you're only using centralized companies, your digital identity is really controlled by Facebook or Instagram or whatever application you may want to use. Payments, fungible tokens, things like Ethereum or Matic are needed for the transactions. And examples of payments that you're going to be using is going to be Matic, which is going to be used on a Polygon network, and ETH, which you probably won't use, but that's the main cryptocurrency for MetaMask. Next slide, please. So culture and community. Web3 culture is a hippie mindset mixed with technology. Open source technology, we believe in sharing, simple as that. Blockchain technology, transparency, and authenticity helps build trust within the community. With blockchain technology, it's just a big receipt book. You can see every transaction that happens on a blockchain, and people are able to follow along. They can read it. They can make sure that that money actually went to where it said it was going to go to. It was the amount that it was supposed to be, and you don't need to call anyone's hotline and ask them to send over their ledgers. Everything is open and transparent for you. Decentralized. One person doesn't have all the power. The power is now in the hands of the community. The Web3 community recognizes technology can be used to benefit our lives more than tech currently is. The community favors the creators and the contributors. There are a plethora of ways to contribute to the Web3 community. Two of my favorites are educating myself and educating others like we're doing here today. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about DApps, or dApps as I like to call them, and we're going to use a few of those along our Web3 journey. The most important one is going to be MetaMask. It's your main wallet. This is where you're going to create your OX address. The Polygon is going to be the second layer, where we built the Garden token. MetaMask provides a simple yet most secure way to connect to blockchain-based applications. You're always in a control when interacting on the new decentralized web. Polygon, once again, is the second layer of Ethereum. This is where the Garden token is built. Snapshot is a decentralized voting system. It provides flexibility on how voting power is calculated for a vote. Snapshot supports various voting types to cater to the needs of the organizations. Creating proposals and voting on Snapshot is user-friendly and does not cost gas as the process is performed off-chain. But it still keeps a log of everything that happens, all the votes, everything that everyone is talking about. You can go back and check Big Green's whole snapshot, and it's pretty much is a track record of everything that Big Green has been up to. Discord is where the world hangs out. Discord is a voice, video, and text communication service used by over 100 million people to talk, hang out, and communicate with their friends and build community. And then our last one is going to be eFlow. That's where we're going to do a lot of our quadratic voting, and it makes it simple for you. It's a cool tool where you can just slide back and forth, and they'll be able to help you out and make it easier for you. Once again, these applications are just applications in Web3. They're used to make your life easier. So that's our goal with bringing these forth. They're just going to make your life easier, and it's going to help with the mainstream adoption by having these decentralized applications, because it's convenience. Once you understand it and once it's easier for you, more people are going to adopt it. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we're going to go over Web3 101 and a couple of things that you need to make sure you have. When you download MetaMask, you need to make sure that you have your seed phrase. Your seed phrase is going to be a 12-word phrase that you're going to use to get access to your account, no matter where you are. MetaMask is a wallet, but just like a wallet that you carry your cash and your credit cards in, it doesn't matter about the wallet. You can have a Gucci wallet, a Louis Vuitton wallet, a Michael Kors wallet. What really matters is the cash that you have and those debit and credit cards. That's what's really important, and those are your seed phrases. So you'll be able to use your seed phrase in MetaMask, Trust Wallet, Rainbow Wallet, because you control access to that account. It's not owned by MetaMask. That seed phrase is your real password to your account. A seed phrase protects your assets to your crypto wallet and everything inside of it. If you had a mobile wallet and you lost your phone, and let's say if you had a computer and your computer died on you, your seed phrase would allow you to set up not a new wallet. Your seed phrase would allow you to recover your wallet and automatically make it import into that device. It makes it nice and simple. As long as you have that, you are golden. You will have another local password on top of that. This password doesn't matter as much. This password is required for quick access to a wallet from a trusted device. So after you already put in that seed phrase, which is 12 words and really hard to remember, you can put in a regular 8-digit password. That way you can have quick access to your account. A few things that you want to keep in mind. The basics, if you're using a computer, you're going to download Chrome or you're going to download Firefox, and you're going to provide an extension to your web browser. Those extensions are available with a quick Google search, and you'll be able to download those. It will add a fox in the top right-hand corner of your screen. If you are not using a computer, if you are using a tablet, or if you are using a smartphone, you need to download the MetaMask application. Once you're in the application, you'll be able to use the internet browser built inside that application in order to communicate and interact with these dApps. So those are a few important things when you're going on this Web3 journey. And if you can't remember this, we'll have this in Discord, and feel free to follow with me directly. Next slide, please. What to expect as a potential DAO member. As a community member of the Big Green DAO, we want to hear your voice, and we want your participation. Discord engagement, vote on grants and proposals via Snapshot. Create proposals to improve the DAO. Pretty simple. We just want the members to be active. This is your community. We want you to feel empowered, and we want you to let your voice be heard. So we want you to vote, we want you to interact on Discord, and we even want you to put in proposals to make this DAO a better community. And I believe that is it for me. Thank you all for your time, and look forward to learning more about your organizations.
Thank you so much, Rob. And with that, I would like to introduce Diana Zegers, one of the representative of the Big Greens team on the DAO and the DAO committee. So Diana, please take it away. Thanks so much, Rob.
Hi everyone, it's wonderful to see the attendance today. My count says 108 participants here to engage in this learning and application process, which is super exciting. So as Sam said, my name is Diana Zegers. I have two roles on this call. One is with Big Green 501c3. I'm the Vice President of Program, and the other is with Big Green DAO. And I have the honor of holding Big Green's governance token as a member of the governance committee. And I was thinking about you all as Rob was going through his slides, and I dropped some things in the chat because what I can share with you on a personal level is that when the phrase DAO came into my life last, I think it was maybe August or September, I literally had no idea what any of this meant. And I knew that there were people in the world that were interested in things called cryptocurrencies, but I personally had absolutely no experience in them at all, except I did walk down the street recently and saw a Bitcoin cash machine. And depending on how old you are, way back when I was a kid, we used to call them time machines. Time was the name of the company that cash machines were managed by. So if that tells you where I'm at. So I only say that to share some empathy that if this feels like a lot, it is, insofar as there's a lot of opportunity for us to learn. But I'm also going to say that I'm still very much a novice. I feel very glad to have Rob on our team. He is not a novice, and he is here to help us kind of every step of the way. In the chat, we were also talking about the learning management system and what we created inside that learning management system with support of all of the folks here on the call. And then one other member of our team whose name is Matt Markman. And he is sort of the mastermind behind things like our MetaMask wallet and our tokens. They're really mini courses. Each course is probably 5 to 10 minutes long at the most. And that is a reference for you to use at any time, sort of regardless of whether you move through the grant process or not. And that's really intended for you to have a way to feel comfortable. So my role on our call today is just to talk about the application process itself. And what I can reflect to you from previous applicants is kind of a continual set of questions like, is this it? Like, is this it? So the literal application itself is a very simple form that applicants will fill out. There's some key information that Big Green needs. Big Green is the entity who will receive your application and ultimately take you through the whole grants process up to and including the disbursement of funds. And but that's really that's our role. It is the Big Green DAO who will decide, the token holders who will decide how funds are allocated and how many funds are allocated to which organization. So our role is to execute the decisions of the DAO. For today, what I wanted to share with you are some things for you to consider to make sure that your application can be administered. So that's really me and our team here at Big Green. Can we actually fund you? And so there's some things that you need to upload in your application. And so my advisement today on those things is that please pay attention to make sure that when we're asking you for those documents, that they are up to date, that they are complete and accurate so that we can proceed to move you into the voting round. Any organization who is applying as a 501c3 will submit your W-9 and your letter of determination from the IRS. That's what you upload. That's how we know that you are eligible to be funded. The other thing that you see here in capital letters is that this is a fast grant round. So it is open now, and we will be distributing funds in the second half of September. We have had some applicants who have internal requirements. So this may be like a grants office, particularly if you're a larger organization or an educational institution. There are often people who need to weigh in on a grant agreement, or they may have to give you access to the bank's ACH. And so it's really important as the applicant that you check in with your internal team, people who are authorized signers, executive directors, your finance team, or grants office, if that applies to you, and make sure that you know what your organization is going to ask of you in this process to make sure that you can fulfill those expectations. We will ask very little of you in terms of the grants administration process, but sometimes there are internal controls and processes that grant seekers need to be aware of. And the other thing that I'll share, and that's really the first bullet point, is there are about 250 words available in this explanation part of the grant application form. And in thinking through the last round as someone who was voting, so I had the opportunity to review all of the applications and actually say what I thought was important. It is really hard as a voter if I don't know about your organization, if I can't find things within your application that I can either click on or that you have explained that shows me how your organization's work is connected to food. That's our mission at Big Green. So we can grant in the Big Green DAO to organizations who are moving forward their mission through food. So it really needs to be clear to the voters how your project is going to use growing food to change lives. That's really important for us. And if that's not clear, or if you've just put maybe your larger organization and you have a food focus, but it's not your sole focus, then we need to know how your particular project will use growing food. That will be helpful to voters. I will also share that some organizations who are seeking a grant will be wanting to utilize a fiscal sponsor. And so that would mean that entity in and of itself is not a 501c3. And so in keeping with IRS rules, the Big Green DAO has decided that it is only going to grant to 501c3 or similar entities. So that's everything that falls under public charities in the IRS. So that would include, for example, tribal organizations, governmental bodies. Those are the examples of organizations that can be funded as a public charity. But if you are a smaller entity and you have not yet achieved that status, then you may be able to apply through a fiscal sponsor who does have a 501c3 or public charity status. What is really important to us in the DAO is that everybody is protected in this arrangement, both the grantee, the entity that is holding the fiscal sponsorship, as well as Big Green. So the things that we will be looking for if you will be utilizing a fiscal sponsor is that you have an established relationship. It's not something that was created specifically for this grant. And that is really to protect all parties. We'll be asking for the written agreement. Oftentimes fiscal sponsors will take a portion of your granted dollars, sometimes up to or even beyond 20% of the grant. So it's important that that is clear, and we want to make sure that all parties are aware if there's going to be any administrative fee. We will need to have the same documents that I just spoke to. So the W-9 and that fiscal sponsor's letter of determination will be part of the upload process. And then most importantly, we just want to make sure that everybody understands the roles and requirements of a fiscal sponsor. In the event that any entity had questions about this grant process, the DAO is going to ask for very little from you in terms of a report out. However, your fiscal sponsor may have very many things that they are looking for, because they are going to be accountable for reporting that to other entities, in particular the IRS. So those are just some things that we want for you to consider. And I think I can end on this part by just offering that you should think of your application as an opportunity to paint the picture of who you are and the work that is important to you. That's what's really compelling for people who are voting. And the more resources that you can give us to be able to investigate that work, the more likely it is that we will come to know what your mission is and the impact that you're making. And the other way that we come to know that is by having you engage in Discord. It was amazing last grants round when we had people coming into Discord and engaging, and some people joined town halls and they were able to just sort of talk about this in a community of peers. It was very then easy for me when it came to voting, like, yep, I've heard from this person. I was on a town hall from this person, or this organization is sharing details in Discord about important work that's happening or things that are going on in their community. It just makes it so much easier to understand and support that work. So those are some tips, and you can get a lot more tips from people by joining the Discord and kind of tuning into some of the events that we have there, where grantees and token holders can communicate with one another and sort of share best practices. Sam, I think that's everything on this slide for me.
Wonderful. Perfect. Thank you so much, Dan. And I see there's a lot of questions in the chat as well. We are going to have time at the end to get into some Q&A and what we're not able to answer directly in the chat. And Megan, we're ready to share Lacey's perspective when you are ready to share.
How's it going? I'm Staff Sergeant Mac, Lacey Mac, one of the OG6 here, a part of the DAO committee, and man, welcome. I had access to a lot of the grant seekers through Discord, which is extremely helpful. Because if there's like a specific question I wasn't able to find a website or something of that nature, and there's a lot of people that don't have that type of resource where they're going to be able to have a website, functioning website, i.e. me, I fall into that category. Honestly, all we're doing is, hey, come be a part of our community. Let's share knowledge. Let's grow together. And I mean, that really is my focus for this particular grant, was just to let folks know how convenient it is to be a part of the DAO. Truly, I look for someone like me, like a grassroots organization, Honda Pilot, shovel in a bag of seeds, trying to make things happen in their community. Is there people of color on your board? Like, are they in positions of leadership? The communities that you serve, how are you enriching lives through growing food in that capacity? We're looking for how you're imprinting the world, man. Like, are you uplifting those communities? Also, just like, I'm looking for the heart too. if you have a way of truly communicating your story, whether that be through, hey, look at what I've done on, my social media links, or like, look at, my website, or, let me tell you a story about, this one particular story about this student that got to taste, cucumbers for the first time, fresh out of the garden. Like anything like that, any type of sharing of experiences that you've had when it comes to your storytelling, and just like the impact you're making in your community, or a vision of what you would like to see, because maybe it's not done yet and you're the pioneer to do it. Like, share us that story, man. Like, what convinced you to do this thing? Like, why are you dedicating yourself to it? Because it's not easy. And I think just that alone can really display, your authenticity, like I said, and just your heart, man. And that's what I'm looking for. So, growing food changes lives. And man, good luck on this journey. And I'm sure that I will see you in Discord somewhere. Maybe I'll even see you in the world. But thanks for coming on board, and best of luck.
Well, big shout out to Lacey. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. I know you're not here with us in person right now, but the contributions that everybody makes to the DAO community is really, I think, one of the special things about the DAO. And now we'll pass it on to you, Matt Ramsden. Please join us today.
Hold on. Do we have a link for the notes?
I can get that to you, Jasmine.
All right, cool. Thank you. Sorry to join late. Sorry.
Thanks, Sam. My name is Matthew Ramsden, and you will see me you will encounter me in the Discord community, and that's what I am trying to shepherd and take care of. You will learn about the very basics of Discord in the LMS. So I know there have been some questions in the chat about how do I join? Do I need to make a donation to join? You do not. Go through the LMS. That's where you'll get all the basic steps you need to have a successful application and to engage with the community. So the Discord server really is the Big Green DAO community. That's where you'll meet members like Diana, like Sergeant Lacey. It's where you'll meet fellow grant seekers. It's where you'll find out about events, town halls, important dates. And most importantly, it's where you can share your story with our community. And there was a question in the chat a moment ago saying, is that 250 words the whole application? Well, it's really not. The engagement in Discord with our voting community, that is the heart of your application, because that's where you get to tell your story. So through the learning management, you'll get a link to join Discord. You'll get some guidance for those of you who are new, how to navigate Discord, and some in basic but important security measures. Next slide, please. So as I said, the real key is Discord engagement, and the really effective mechanism we tried out last grant round, and we're doing more this grant round, are town halls. So a town hall is something that takes place on Discord. So you have to get as far as joining the server to engage with the town hall. They're an open chat. So unlike this Zoom call that's a webinar, think for those of you who are using Zoom nowadays, which is so many of us, think of a regular Zoom meeting where you can see everyone's faces and people are jumping in, and it's an open conversation. That's what a town hall is like. We'll post notices on Discord to let you know when they're coming up. We'll also add them to our Big Green DAO public calendar, which you can subscribe to. If you look on Discord in the applicants channel, there are several links there to subscribe to that calendar, and I will drop that link, or one of us will drop that link into the calendar or into the chat as well. And when a town hall is starting, there's a town hall channel that will show up, and you click on that and you jump in. These town halls, what's really beautiful about them is that they're led by our community themselves. Sergeant Lacey has led a few. Wande, Viro, our committee members and our community members really step in and will help facilitate these, and they'll have some questions for you. And it's really your opportunity to tell your story, to put your narrative out there. Because these are the people, as Diana was saying earlier, who they're the ones who determine where the grants go. So they're the ones that really need to know what you're up to. And I can tell you from watching these town halls, it's really beautiful. It's a wonderful, great conversations, fascinating people, a lot of support and a lot of love. So get onto Discord, and I look forward to seeing many of you on these town halls. And practically speaking, the next town hall will be at this time next week. So August 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern time, noon Mountain time. And then again, the following week on the 23rd, there'll be town halls when you'll have the opportunity to join and meet the community. In addition to the town halls, there are 3 channels here listed that are important channels on Discord. One is the general channel. That's kind of obvious, and that's where you'll see the most posts and the most chat. The gardening channel, which was really just an opportunity to post more gardening photos, and the applicants channel. And as I mentioned that one before, it's got some of the basic links that you'll want to, links back to the LMS, to some guides, links to the Google Calendar that can really help you. Navigate your way through and get the information you need right at your fingertips. Next slide, please. So just to go over some basics about the timing of Grants Round 4. As you know, it's already open. So the application period runs from July 15th to August 15th. 1 month to get your applications in. The town halls that are ongoing, we've got a couple more scheduled. As I mentioned, we'll probably add more than that. Those run from August 1st to August 31st. Even after the application period is closed, we keep talking. The Discord's active all the time. From the 15th, after the application period closes, through to the end of August, the application vetting and support. That's where we are looking at all the applications that have come in, and if there is a form that is missing or we have a question about, we will reach back out to you. Our goal is that as many of you as possible successfully submit your application. So we have a couple of weeks specifically to try to support that. Then from September 1st to September 11th, that's when the voting happens. So our community members will be registering their votes on organizations to support and by how much. And from there until the end of the month, that's when the grants are administered. As Diana said, it's quick. Next slide. Right, so for questions and answers, I'm gonna hand this back over to Rob Gray.
Hey, nice to see everyone again. I'm ready for the question whenever you are. Shoot.
So Rob, there's a few that have been consistently coming up. We have multiple people asking some of the same questions. So I'm going to just throw a couple of those forward. Matt, these will come to you. There's a couple about Discord. So one question is, could multiple people from an organization join Discord? What are the thoughts on that?
Absolutely, we encourage that. And it is a question I get often, sometimes by email. By all means, the Discord invitation link that you get when you do the LMS is you can use it for yourself and for your colleagues. We don't see any need to limit that. The more the merrier. So please invite those people in your organization that you think will have something important to say.
Great. Rob, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, just wanted to add, we can have multiple people from your organization in the Discord, but only one person from your organization will actually hold the token. It's okay if everyone has a MetaMask account. Great, more people into the Web3 ecosystem, but we only need one OX address from the main account holder who will be doing the voting, who will be confirming all the transactions and things of that nature. So just a heads up, the OX address are unique addresses for each individual. We would need that one from the main person who would be controlling and doing the actions.
Great. And then there's a couple people who already have a Discord, like they're in Discord elsewhere. So how does that work to participate in the Big Green Discord?
Having a Discord account already is just great. It just means that one of your steps is already done. Joining the server, if you are logged in either through your Discord application, if you have it, or on the website, and you click that link, it will just invite you to the server. You don't have to go through the first few steps of creating your account. But there's no problem, and there's no difference other than that.
All right, and then let's see, there's the other questions about, there's just some questions generally about Discord and how that connects to the application process. In fact, a great question about like, where do we best tell our story? Is it in the application? Is it in Discord? And the answer is probably yes to those. I'm going to go back to the slide about kind of where you can emphasize certain things. So lots of questions about if you could include links as part of your 250 word, that open-ended space. That's for sure. You can for sure create links in there. There is one specific spot though, where we ask for like, where do you want people to go if they only went to one? Where would you want them to go for the online presence? And we have had people in the last grant round choose different things for that. Some have put a website, some put an Instagram page. What I would say to you is if you could consider how the text in the freeform section is supported or augmented by those other links, that's probably a really good strategy. In the 250 words, what I would say is the most important thing for you to be communicating, I'm going to just go back to clarity about how your project is using growing food to advance your mission. That's really what people are going to maybe only be able to see in that 250 word grant section. And then Megan, there are some questions in here about like, how do we actually access the grant? So Megan, I wonder if you could drop in the /grants address that gets to a landing page. So Megan will put that into the chat. But when you go to the Big Green DAO webpage, everything takes you to the eligibility quiz. And the eligibility quiz isn't for our benefit, it's for yours. So the eligibility quiz is a series of like 5 or 6 questions that sort of ask you things like, are you a 501c3? Do you have a project? All the things I just said. So it's like 5 questions that help you decide if this is the right opportunity for you. And once you move through those 5 questions, then the landing page that Megan just put in takes you through the process to actually apply for the grant. There was another question about I've already submitted, can I submit again? So I think what I would suggest is if you think you need to have a revision of your application, so you could submit a second application, but probably you're going to need to cue us that there's a duplicate. I would say maybe the best thing to do is to reach out to me directly if that's your scenario, and I'll type my email in the chat here and let me know, and then we can disable the application that you maybe want revision of. So I'll put that in the chat right now.
And I would just jump in that there as well. If you've submitted your application and you're worried that you didn't include a link to something that has more information about your organization, I would suggest that you don't need to resubmit an application, because really the place to tell that story is in the general channel and on the town halls. We do, as organizations come in and as we check the application, sort of do a once over, we add those organizations into a channel and it lists those grantees. But that is not where the majority of our community members go to learn about your organization. They want it, as Sergeant Lacey said, he wants your heart. He wants to hear it from you. He wants to know why you're here, and he really wants to be inspired. So don't worry so much about that. Get into the general channel, post your pictures, tell your stories, engage with people.
There's another question, or a couple of questions in here that deal with how many grants and what the like maybe typical range of granting is. And the answer to that question is pending. There's going to be 2 votes that the community will have between now and the voting process. And one of those votes is how much of the available treasury do we want to grant in this grants round. So that's one of the roles that the committee has, is to make advisement on that. So based on what the light paper governance says now, we have to grant no less than 20% and no more than 30% of the treasury. And so we're estimating that that's probably somewhere between $500,000 to as much as $1 million, but we'll know that in soon. And how big are the grants is really a very difficult question to answer. There's a possibility that someone won't be granted, so that would mean 0 allocation. But getting a grant, the minimum grant allocation will be $10,000, and the largest possible grant would be $50,000, based on how we have set the parameters for this grant round. Okay. Does anybody else on the team here see anything that's kind of a trend before we open it up?
There were a lot of questions or a lot of comments from earlier in the presentation, and when people were putting in their Web3 words about learning curve, exciting but intimidating, which I thought maybe Rob could speak to, as other than our LMS, which we want everyone to go through and for our application, what's a way that people can educate themselves about Web3? What would be a good place to start?
The best place to start is internally with our LMS that we created. We break it down in a very simple way that farmers and gardeners and nonprofits can understand. If you are really feeling an itch and you want to dive deeper than that, another resource I can recommend is Rabbit Hole. Rabbit Hole is a website that's interactive and give you different ways where you can interact with Web3 services. You can learn how to buy cryptocurrency, trade, and all that stuff. But a lot of that stuff you don't need to do with Big Green DAO. So that's why we don't push people there automatically. We'd rather you learn everything via our LMS, but because we believe in the open source mentality, the information is out there. We gather a lot of our information from ethereum.org, which is the Ethereum Foundation and people who built the Ethereum blockchain. So that's another resource. It is kind of still just a lot of words, but that is our resource where we gather a lot of our information that we teach to you all.
There's another question that's come up a couple times in the chat of people asking about, like, oh, our organization focuses on food access but not growing, or composting but not growing. Kind of the idea that growing food changes lives is really the work of the Big Green DAO is really centered around our food system and food sovereignty, food justice work. And so please correct me if I'm wrong, Big Green team, but those projects would qualify, I think, as far as connecting to that work in general. And the way that you do that work, how you do that work, how specifically you're impacting your community through food, and food sovereignty, food justice work, that story, like how you do that is how you'll kind of be able to represent that work in a way that would support votes for dollars for the project that you are presenting.
There's a really important exchange that happened in here between Rob and a couple of attendees, and it has to do with what the coin actually is and whether or not it has value. And so the answer to I'm going to give you my answer, and then I'm going to, Rob, give you the mic to maybe talk about how you responded. So the garden token does not have any economic value. Big Green is not in the cryptocurrency business. We are not trying to generate funds at this time in the Web3 space. We are using the technology and the principles to advance decentralized grant making. So nobody can benefit financially off of the token. Rob, would you add any additional information to that answer?
The only thing I will add is I believe Big Green sends out a check that goes to these organizations, and it's not sent through a cryptocurrency like DAI, Ethereum, Matic, or anything like that. The payment happen off chain.
Right. So when we move through the grants process for those organizations who are granted, again, this is where we kind of go back to a very Web 2 experience, and our team will be communicating with you to make sure that we have our preferred method to distribute funds is ACH. It is the fastest and most effective method, and that's a bank-to-bank transfer. This last time, I think we were able to distribute, we had about $705,000 in grants to 37 organizations, and we were able to do that in about 2 weeks' time. It also will include a grant agreement. So there was a question in here about what is required for reporting, and that's probably the most interesting question, or at least a highly interesting question as it relates to this type of grant making. What it is going to say in your grant agreement is that you agree to provide an update to the Big Green DAO in the 12th month or by the 12th month. We don't actually know what that report back is going to look like. But what I can tell you is that it's likely that most of you, if you're engaging in Discord, will probably be fulfilling most of the requirements of the report. Essentially, the question that the Big Green DAO cares about is, how did you use the funds, and was that use of funds impactful? And we want people to be able to tell that story in the way that matters to you and your community versus any sort of specific metrics that the DAO has established to measure impact. So this is an experiment, and on many levels, we are learning every time about what works and what doesn't work. But the most important thing to the community thus far in this project is ensuring that people can tell the story that is most important to people within that community in a way that that works and is not labor intensive. There have been some questions in here about how donors are reacting, and one in particular, like, are donors upset that they're not able to have access? Or it's been very interesting. I will just share, we've had the opportunity over the last 9 months or 8 months to engage with traditional philanthropists, and we've gotten a whole magnitude of feedback. Some people not certain, like, what are you doing? Some people very interested and intrigued about how this, kind of watching, right, to see how this is working, and trying to decide if models like this could be useful. We haven't had any, like, I would say, negative donor response. We only have three, is it three, Matt Ramsden, or is it just two?
For donor token holders, we're at 2, and there's possibly a third that would be coming in. Donors, the donors who are interested in this want to see results. Mm-hmm. So we have a really important new way of achieving those results, and people are pretty excited.
Yeah, and there hasn't been, so I think I maybe put this in the chat, but in case you missed it, the donor tokens are allocated based on the rules set up by the governance committee. And so right now, what we have allocated is tokens to donors at $100,000 and above. There is an opportunity within the light paper to start to bring down the amount of donation that is required before a token is initiated. And that is a major point of conversation and deliberation in the committee and the community, and will continue to be a point of deliberation going forward. What I can tell you is it seems that thus far, donors have not had a ton of interest in participating in the process. The nonprofits have been very, very active in Discord and in voting. I think we have had 100%. We had 100%. Did we not last time of nonprofits vote? Yeah. So I mean, think about that. A voting turnout of 100% in the DAO. Pretty amazing. Okay, I've been chit-chatting now, so wondering if there's any other questions. Go ahead, Sam.
We're at time. There are a lot of questions in the chat. Some are very specific and some are really broad. I can say that I think the best appropriate way to follow up for this, to be respectful and responsible for everybody's time, is we will document and save these questions, and we will move them to Discord to be able to respond to them kind of to the community, so that everybody can kind of benefit from the conversation that's happening. There are a couple of like really like important, like kind of meta big picture questions too. I think those probably are going to be able to spur some larger conversations. The one thing I do want to address to everybody while we're here is questions on like expectations for time and for participation. Just really quickly, so you all know what you're getting into when you apply. Really the number one thing is when you apply, and if your application is voted on well, and you're able to receive somewhere between $10,000 and $50,000 for as part of a community member in this grant round, you will receive a garden token. The expectation, the hope. Well, that's really the end, right? Like that's really like period. The only thing that's required is you've applied and you've received funding. That's the only requirement. But there is a hope because we know that this work is not done in isolation, that this is really community-centered work. And I think the power of the DAO is the way that this can bring all of us across the world who are focused on food, and the power that those connections have to addressing all of the challenges that all of us are facing every day and trying to address, is in the way that we communicate and support each other in doing that work. And so to continue to be a DAO member, a DAO community member, you have to vote. If you miss more than 2 consecutive votes, your token will get burned. That's kind of what is described, what is written out in the light paper. And then the second important piece is that if you are able to communicate and participate in the Discord, that is how you are able to join the conversation, to connect with others, to learn about what other people are doing, to really kind of utilize this community as a resource. So there's no expectation for involvement. There's just a hope. So with that, I don't want to take up everybody's entire day. We could be on here talking and answering questions until midnight tonight. But I know Rob and Matt and myself are all very excited and interested in supporting all of you in this process. So we will see you in Discord for sure. And my best recommendation for you at this point is to spend some time in the LMS. We've really designed that to walk you through step by step the process, and you can reach out to us directly on Discord if you need anything. Any of the DAO operators are there to support you all. So thank you so much.
Have a great day, everyone. It was nice meeting everybody. Look forward to hearing from you all in Discord.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Matt, for your contributions.
Thanks, everyone.